Cool, right out your side. Michael, I am holding my breath on this one. It has been really scary. The three people in this red Mercedes are driving so recklessly here on surface streets through the Pico Union area. Where we're at is Pico Boulevard, coming up to Bonnie Bray. Now, this is the L.A.P.D that is in pursuit. They're described as burglary suspects with a hot prowl. So that means that the residents were home when that burglary occurred. Now, it's unclear exactly where it happened, but we first heard about this coming out of the San Fernando Valley near the 101 at Tampa, and has since made its way quickly down to the Pico Union area. And as recklessly as you see them driving now is the way it's been this entire time. Look at how close, right up to that pedestrian. There have been numerous close calls just like that with pedestrians and bicyclists and other close calls. And you can see that the danger level continues to escalate right here. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, but these close calls are getting that much more dangerous as we continue along. The L.A.P.D, for that reason, is now in surveillance mode. We're not going to see any ground units directly behind this vehicle. They're trying to get these guys to think that they're no longer being pursued, and hopefully they'll slow down. But clearly, as of now, it is not working, and they are now jumping on the 110 freeway. Oh, I'm so grateful he's on the freeway. Even though he's clearly still driving very recklessly on the right shoulder here, at least that's going to take the pedestrians out of the equation, because that close call that we just saw, I saw at least 3 of those before we came on the air. So it is just so incredibly dangerous. And this is a brand new Mercedes. It's 2022. So it's clearly going to be just a great vehicle, going to be able to drive at very high speeds. And look at this, driving in the center divider, the gore point here, between the 110 and the 10 freeways, but it looks like he's going to be continuing southbound on the 110 freeway. So the nearest, it's actually going to be the 10. So we're right at the transition with the 10 near Adams, which is that overpass there. We should see him pop out the other side here. And there he is, right on the shoulder. So in terms of locators, we're very close to USC, the Coliseum. It does appear like he's maybe slowing down just a tidbit. Maybe it's because of the traffic, but I'll take it. I'll take whatever we can get, because he has been just so incredibly dangerous on surface streets. So it's actually a good thing that he's now on the freeway, because again, at least it takes the cyclists and pedestrians out of the equation, but still driving recklessly here on the 110 south as he is using the right shoulder to get by. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he took some side view mirrors with him, to be honest, because of all these close calls. But you can see that his vehicle, for the most part, appears to be pretty intact. No word yet on whether that car itself is stolen. I haven't heard that information. But again, this came out as a 459, which is a burglary, out of the L.A.P.D, out of San Fernando Valley, somewhere on the west end of the San Fernando Valley, rather. One of our photogs actually heard this pursuit coming near the 101 at Tampa, and that's when we launched. And by the time we launched and got behind or over the vehicle, they had already made its way into the LA basin, just west of downtown LA. And now continuing here on the southbound 110 freeway, he's taking the fast track lanes. So those are those toll lanes that go over the 110 freeway, which actually makes it a little bit easier for me to follow, since they are the elevated portion of the freeway. And again, you're not going to see any units directly behind the vehicle, because this guy has been driving so recklessly. The L.A.P.D has actually pulled its ground units off, and they're in what's called surveillance mode. So this is going to be helicopter only, in hopes that he will calm down in his driving. Absolutely, because they have no idea that this is a police pursuit. I know it's happened to all of us. You're just driving along the freeway, and then all of a sudden somebody just goes by you at incredibly high speeds, and you think obviously that they're recklessly driving, but you don't realize in this case that it's a pursuit because there's no units behind him. The helicopter is overhead, but that wouldn't necessarily be visible to any of the drivers on the freeway. But again, continuing in those fast track lanes on the southbound side of the 110 freeway, going to be crossing across, wow, going across all lanes here. Now back in the regular lanes, he might be trying to exit, so may possibly be exiting. If he does, that's going to put him in South LA. Yeah, correct. So there's no units behind him, but what I did hear that they were possibly going to try to get the CHP behind him when he was on the freeway. But now that he's on surface streets, this is back in L.A.P.D's jurisdiction, and I am hearing that they're still in tracking mode, which is that surveillance mode that I was talking about, where they're not going to have any units behind him. They'll just do the helicopter only in hopes that perhaps he'll start to drive a little bit more calmly. I haven't seen him pop out from under the freeway just yet, so I'm going to widen out the shot just a touch. Let's see. I'm listening to the scanner here. I haven't seen him pop out, but I might have missed him. But we're basically Florence at the 110 freeway. The airship is saying that he last saw him there as well. I'm just gonna scoot up ahead a little bit here. Just want to make sure I don't miss him. So yeah. So essentially, Florence at the 110 freeway.
Might be familiar to them. We are now in South Los Angeles. Why the suspect chose to get off the freeway at this point, hard to tell. But look at the rate of speed there on these surface streets. We might think of kids being out from school at this hour, people on the sidewalks, in the crosswalks. Very scary to see that high rate of speed there.
And we are keeping, obviously, our cameras just a little bit farther away here, so it's hard to get a good look at all at the suspect vehicle. And the reason why is because they are in the airspace of LAX. So we're going to maneuver around and keep an eye on this and bring you back to it as warranted. In the meantime, we're going to take it back here in the studio.
Owns that business, or even merch or customers may have been inside when that happened. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Sarah. So continuing westbound here on Florence. Yeah, at this point, there's no information to lead us to believe that it is. They haven't said that it is. They just said that it's wanted in connection with that burglary. He's still coming through a gas station here just to get past some of that slower moving traffic, and is going to continue west. And my pilot, Sargar Betian, telling me that if we stay on this general trajectory, we'll be able to stay behind him. But he's still cutting through the gas stations. I'm wondering if maybe he's trying to get some gas, because he's jumping from one gas station to the next, but looks like he's going to be going northbound. So now he's northbound on Crenshaw Boulevard. So this helps us in terms of our location here with LAX, because he's going to be north of the airspace where we can't fly. But continuing at fast speeds here through surface streets on Victoria Avenue, which is through the Hyde Park area. Oh my gosh, here we go. Here's the collision. This is Brian Hurst at 71st Street, and he's still going. Look at this. Wow, so he just T-boned that vehicle and is going to try to continue on, continuing very erratically. Lots of U-turns here, lots of twists and turns, and this person is now on the train tracks and barely missed hitting that pedestrian. I can't tell you where the nearest train is, but oh my gosh, just on the other side of this building. He appears to have lost control. He's probably stuck on the tracks, and here we go. We're seeing people running. I'm going to stick with this guy, but again, there were possibly 3 people in the car. I'll widen out real quick, see if I can catch any other people running, but at this point, he's the only one that I spot. We're running west here on West Boulevard at 71st Street, wearing all black and continuing to run after several collisions. This guy's got to be hurting, but he's still trying to run away as we get to the train stop here entering Inglewood. Absolutely. They wouldn't even see the vehicle that this guy was in. There were no squad cars behind him, so you wouldn't even think this is a pursuit. So as far as they know, this is just a guy running. But we, of course, know what this person was involved in. And again, there were possibly 3 people in the car. I didn't see the other 2 just because of the side that we ended up with when this came to an end. But it looks like he's coming up to the other side of an apartment complex here. Again, still right next to the tracks. We're just off of Redondo Boulevard and Long Street in Inglewood. So we're going to come around, see if we can catch him again before he tries to run into this apartment complex. But I'm hearing a description from the helicopter. They are describing him as wearing all black, which I believe is the same guy we're chasing here. They're saying he's coming out to Hyde Street, which I believe is right where we're at. Again, we're in Inglewood. Police officers now coming to the scene. Yeah, so we're continuing to come around. More officers arriving on scene. They have a pretty good idea of where he's at because, again, the airship was overhead, so they are guiding these officers to the location. We're trying to get closer. Of course, we're limited by airspace restrictions, but you can see that all of those officers are running to this little alleyway between that shop and that apartment building, so we believe that that is where the guy is hiding. And you can see that all of the residents are coming out to take a look. So I think we have a pretty good idea of where he's at. Yeah, hard to tell if they took anyone. Oh, here he is. Okay, there we go. Oh, such good news after what we witnessed here live on our air. And again, I'm hearing the airship. They're saying they didn't see anybody else get out of the car other than this guy. But of course, they're going to have to go back there and check if, obviously that car was involved in multiple collisions. There's a possibility somebody could still be inside and simply can't get out. So they're going to have to go check the car. But again, at least 1 person in custody. Initially, we were told that there could be as many as 3 people in the car. But this man here now in custody at Redondo Boulevard and High Street in Inglewood.